Hi and welcome to WigganRC, and today we're going to complete the build of the Xclass Thor, and shout out to Martin who supplied me with the frame, and their service was great, and we'll get straight into it. So I've just had a fantastic delivery of these motors. This is Mad Components, and opening up this box came very nicely packaged, and as you can see inside, I've decided to get the Crimson, and these are the Mad XC 5500s. They come really nicely packaged, as you can see, and a fantastic and unbelievable long cable so that you can stretch down the arms of the frame. So these are 505 kV and they're rated between 6 and 10S. There is a motor that is 345 kV as well, and 380, and some of those are rated up to 14S. So check out Mad Components, their website, and you can find out more about those. So there's the bolt pattern there, as you can see, so plenty of options bolting down onto the motor mounts, and you can see the windings there. So I'm going to first try this out on 8S and see how I go, and then go from there. So really excited about that, and yeah, we're ready to rumble with that. I'm going to be putting in the HGLRC Vtx. This is their X2 Ultimate, and this has smart audio and is amazingly rated up to 1.2 watts, so 1200 milliwatts of power for long range if needed, and that will be going in the build as well. Now I've also already wired up and started, I'll move this out the way, I've got the HGLRC Gps, so I'll be able to get my speeds, height, and I'll be able to put return to home or anything like that, GPS return to home if needs be. So I'll be putting that on there as well. And of course we're going to be putting in Crossfire, so I've got my Crossfire already wired up, ready to go. So this is going to be my Crossfire little nano receiver. I'm going to be putting that in. I've bought myself a nice little Foxeer Falkor. So I'm really liking the Foxeer Falkors, so that'll be great. And then I've got my Immortal T ready to go on as well, with a Tbs Sma polarized antenna. So there we go. So all that's left for me to do now is attack the build. I'm going to be putting in the Radex flight controller. I got this from Phaser FPV, and also the power board. So we've got the power board there and the flight controller. So that will be a good addition, and I'm going to be trying this out with the Wraith Metal V2s. So these are rated up to 80 amps, and there's a bit of debate whether or not these can be run on 8S, but they're rated up to 6S, and I know a few friends on the Xclass forums are running these on their Xclass rigs. So I'm going to try that. So those are going to be the ESCs. We've got telemetry on there as well in the, I think it's the middle one there, the TX, yeah, and the ground and the signal, and then obviously then the motor wires will connect to that. So lots of caps on there, and they look really well made. So the Radix flight controller, so it comes with a few stickers and so forth there, and let me open this. So it comes with your soft mounts are there, and it comes with 4 UARTs, and you can either use the connector or on the back it's got soldering pads there. So really neat. There's lots of videos about this, so I won't go into too much detail about the flight controller. And then let me just take out the PDB. So the PDB is here, and this obviously is rated up to 8S, and it comes there ready with the cables that you can use with this, with power, motor wires, signal wires and so forth, and hopefully that will create some nice clean power and video. So I'll mount these, I'll stack these together. Let's just put this on here like that so you can see, so they'll stack nicely together, and that'll be great. So I managed to also get a set, really useful to have some set of standoffs. I bought some soft mounts as well, so this was only about $6-7 from Hobbyking, so that's great. So I've got that ready to go, and yes, we're going to be cooking with gas. So you may notice on here already that I have already mounted on these Vondrone 4114s. So these are 400 kV and they're rated from 4 to 8S as well. So I do have these. I was going to originally put these on, but the Crimsons are going to be so much better, I think, for what my application is going to be. The Crimsons are slightly higher kV as well, and we're going to be running the master air screw props on there. Now for batteries, I've got a few. I've got some 4500 6Ss. You know, it's only a 40C, but and I've also got a range of. Let me just open this. I've got a range of new graphene 2200s as well. So I may be using these, a couple of these, to get to, you know, the voltage that I want to use. So a few options with things, really excited, and we'll take it as we go. I finished tinning the ESC, so all of that's ready, and also tinned the flight controller, so that's ready there, all nice and shiny. And there's the PDB, so I've added the battery cable there. It's a little bit long, but I need to have it to come up around that position to come into my little XT60 holder that I've got there. So that will be screwed into the frame, so that will neaten it up nicely. And got my camera already there, ready to be wired in. So time to connect all the ESCs and get it all ready. So here are all the ESCs soldered in, all to the various ports, and ready for the motors to be wired in. I've got the PDB all wired up and the harness there ready to go into the flight controller there, and all the ESCs are ready to go. Got my Crossfire heat shrink ready, cameras. I've got some 560 UF 35 volt Panasonics on there as well, and I've also hooked up the wiring on a UART for the GPS, and and I've got all of my camera and all my other wires all done, connected. So what I'll do is I'll just put a voltmeter on the positive and negative, and just to make sure there's no continuity, and then I'll button everything up. Okay, and it is finally finished. So after all of the building, everything's on, motors are on, neatly going down the tube, so you can see no wires. And I've got the 505k MAD components. Motors, looks awesome. I've balanced the props. So I've got some 13x8s on there. And as we discussed earlier, the Brain FPV board and PDB, and the Xclass Thor is looking great. Now, the good thing about this is that my GoPro sits on the mount for a change, so, and a bit of shock absorption there. So there's the camera, Foxeer Falkor, and there's the ESCs, getting a bit of cooling there through the vent holes. So yeah, all done, looks awesome, and this thing is ready to fly. On the back there, I've got my Crossfire, and I've just used an old SMA/Crossfire 3D mount, which worked out perfectly. And there's the GPS there. Now on the back you may notice a little camera here that is just tied in on a piece of foam. Now what I've done here is simply, I had a cheap camera there that takes a 16 or 32, and I just thought for the filming, I've got my GoPro there as I'm going forward, and then this will take a shot of the rear. So something different, just in case it comes off, I've got it tied off. So that should be fine. And yeah, so really happy with the build, everything went together quite well. Motors I'm hoping will be awesome on 8S. At the moment I'll probably just test it on 6S. I've got a graphene underneath here, and I'll test it on 6S and see how we go. What I'll do is just weigh everything with the battery, GoPro and everything, and see how much it weighs. Okay, I've got my scales here. I'll just zero those out, and it only goes up to 3 kilos, so I'm going to have to take the battery off. Okay, so what's the weight with GoPro, everything? Let's see, 2.576 grams, so just over 2.5 kilos. So quite a heavy quad. Obviously I've got GoPro and a couple of cameras and so forth on there, and even the master air screw props are not that light. And then taking that off, battery, we've got 457 grams. So we're looking at 457 plus the 2576. So we're looking definitely at just over 3 kilos. So quite a heavy build. There's heaps I could do to make this a lot lighter. Obviously having the GoPro and whatever on, and extra little cameras and bits and pieces doesn't help. Also, I've thought I'd buy a couple of APC bi-blades. This one is a 15 by 10. Got it from my local hobby store. HGLRC. So go visit them in Melbourne if you're in town. They've got a great range of props, master air screw, APC, some aeronaut props, so check those out. But yeah, this obviously with the 15-inch props, 15 by 10s, I'm going to test out what the flight characteristics of that is as well. Okay, so all what's left is the maiden, and hopefully this baby flies as well as she looks. I'm loving dropping the prop. I'm loving the XT60 little thing there. Just makes for a nice neat build, and Fossil did a good job making sure that everything goes together well. Only thing I changed for the time being was just some longer screws, but apart from that it's all good. So thanks to Martin again, thanks to the crew at Mad Components for the motors, and yeah, really looking forward to seeing this baby in the air. Okay, hang on for the maiden. WigganRC signing out.